What's up everybody, it's What Jim, and in today's video I'm discussing my top 10 album covers. You can let me know your favourite album covers in the comment section below, and my honourable mention for this list will be George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, released in 1970. Now let's get to it with my top 10 album covers. So here's my 10th favourite album cover, which is The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, released in 1973. It's crazy that it came out nearly 50 years ago. I love how iconic and beautiful this album cover is, mainly with the rainbow part of it to the right. And I really like how simple but effective this album cover looks, but in my opinion maybe it's a bit too simple, which is why it's not any higher in my top 10 album covers. But I do feel like this goes well with the songs that are a part of this Dark Side of the Moon album. So because of that, it definitely enters in my top 10. And number 9 is the Ringo self-titled album from 1973. This is completely different to the Dark Side of the Moon. In my opinion, there's just a lot more going on here, which is why I've got it a little bit higher. But maybe there's just a bit too much going on, which is why it's not any higher in my top 10 album covers. But I still think that this is amazing. I discover something new in it every time I look at it. And it sort of reminds me of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, in a way, seeing all those people behind Ringo. I've got no idea who that character is next to Ringo. It's still a really, really amazing album cover. Just maybe a bit too much going on in my opinion. My number 8 is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road from Elton John, which came out in 1973. So I've had quite a few albums from 1973 so far. It was one of the better years for album covers. And I just love this album cover. I love it gives me like a Wizard of Oz sort of vibe, mainly with the Yellow Brick Road. It definitely goes well with the title of the album, being Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's very iconic, and Elton John was definitely in his peak here. I love the jacket that Elton's wearing, the fact that says Elton John behind him. It's just a really, really cool looking album cover. I love the mini piano, which you can see right there. My number 8 is Rubber Soul by the Beatles, which came out in 1965. And I've always loved this album cover. This one has always caught my eye. I absolutely love the Rubber Soul logo in the top left corner. I'm also a big fan of the way that the Beatles are positioned and the outfits that they're wearing. I just think it looks really, really cool, very 60s and very psychedelic at the same time. I love the trees or the bush behind them. I just think that looks really, really cool. And it's just a really, really cool looking album cover. It's got a very natural vibe to it, and I really, really like that about it. And number 7 is one of the most iconic album covers of all time, and that is Revolver by the Beatles. When I first saw this album cover, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I find some of the pictures in it a little bit on the creepy side. Some of them I still do to this day, but I still appreciate the artwork here that's done by Klaus Forman, which you can see in the corner there of George Harrison's hair. And I love the way all the Beatles look in this album cover. This is very experimental and very psychedelic. And I just absolutely love it. Maybe I would have liked a little bit of colour on it, and maybe there's too many pictures of the Beatles. I'm also not a biggest fan of George Harrison's eyes, and I think his eyes are a little bit on the creepy side. But still an amazing album cover. So now moving on to my top 5, and yes, I am including compilation albums, and for this, I've got The Very Best of Electric Light Orchestra, All Over the World. I absolutely love this album cover. I absolutely love the ELO ship itself and where it's coming out from. I think that looks really, really cool. And my mum said that the ship itself reminds her of Simon Says because of the colours on it. I'm also a big fan of the Earth underneath the ship, but the Earth looks very realistic there, and I just think it's just a really, really amazing looking album cover. Definitely one of my favourite space theme album covers, and I really like the planet you can see on the word Electric and Orchestra. I think that looks really, really cool too. We'll now move on to number 4, which is a Velvet Underground and Nico album, which came out in 1967. I absolutely love this album cover. As you can see, it says peel slowly and see. So if you peel the yellow banana skin on this album cover, it then becomes a pink banana. And this is the only album cover I'm showing you here. That's from my dad's collection. All the other albums are from my own collection. The reason why we've taken the banana peel off of it is because it kept peeling off. So for safekeeping, to make sure that the banana peel never gets lost, we've hidden it inside the album cover. But even without the banana skin, I still think this is an amazing album cover. You're probably thinking there's not a lot going on. It's just a banana and the saying Andy Warhol, who actually did the album cover. I love that it looks like a work of art, really. And when I think of album covers, this is definitely one of the first that comes to mind. But it didn't quite make my top 3 because there's not that much more to really discuss with this album cover. So now into the top 3, folks, and my number 3 is Tom Petty Highway Companion from 2006. In my opinion, it's one of the most underrated albums. It's my favourite Tom Petty album, and I also think it's a very underrated album cover too. I think this album cover is perfect. It's quite simple, but also very effective at the same time. I'm a big fan of the writing that says Tom Petty Highway Companion. I think that font looks really, really cool. I also just love how clean this album cover is, and it's definitely an album cover I wouldn't mind displaying, because I just think it looks amazing. I think the astronaut looks pretty cool. I think the monkey's pretty interesting as well. The whole album cover, it's got sort of like a mystery behind it, and also you can make up your own story behind this album cover. Like how did the spaceship get there? You can make up a story about that. How does monkey come about? You can make up a story about that. It's just an amazing album cover. I can never get enough of looking at this one. Well, now move on to my second favourite album cover, which is my favourite album of all time, and that's Abbey Road by the Beatles. I think this album cover is definitely a perfect one. I think all the Beatles are really, really cool in this album cover, and I'm also a big fan that they're walking behind one another. I just think it's got a really, really cool effect. Obviously, John Lennon's not walking behind anyone though. You can even see this guy in the Abbey Road album cover just looking at the camera. I always thought that was pretty funny, and I just love how iconic this is, and I love the fact that it's taken in outside the Abbey Road Studios, which is in London. I've actually been to this Abbey Road Studios and I actually got my own picture taken of when we crossed the Abbey Road crossing, and you'll be seeing a picture of it right now. It was such an amazing experience. My dad took the picture, and it was myself, my mum, and my sister going across the Abbey Road crossing. Abbey Road is where the Beatles recorded most of their studio albums, so it's definitely a significant place for the Beatles, a significant place for me, and a significant place for music overall, which is why I've got it very high in my top 10 album covers. But my favourite album cover of all time is still by the Beatles, and that is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yes, I've included 4 Beatles album covers in my top 10 album covers of all time. Where do I start with this album cover? Well, I love the fact that this is Beatles in those flowers, and the fact that it says Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on the drum. Very, very psychedelic, experimental, and a beautiful album cover. I love all the different people you can see behind the Beatles. These are all people that meant a lot to the Beatles. You've got Bob Dylan, you've also got Muhammad Ali as well. You've also got Marilyn Monroe, and just so many iconic figures of history. It's just an amazing album cover. I also love what the Beatles are wearing as well. I think Paul McCartney looks the coolest, probably because blue's my favourite colour, but I'm a big fan of George Harrison's hat he's wearing. I could spend hours and hours looking at this album cover. I see something new on it every single time I look at it. It's just an incredible album cover, and I can't think of any album cover better than this one. So because of that, it's my favourite album cover of all time. And I think ever since I saw this album cover, it's always been my favourite. And I think somewhere in the album it tells you who's who on the album cover, which is a really, really cool touch. So once again, Sgt. Pepper's is my favourite album cover of all time, and please let me know your favourite album cover in the comment section below. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and comment. Until next time everyone, peace and love, and ciao.